Questions?
Wouldn't that be just another way of sterilizing the person? Because they could have, how many times could that happen? They could have more than one abortion. Like, come on.
Sorry, I know.
Like saying the woman was to have the abortion, right?
Yes, like
the doctors are saying to have the abortion. Okay, she could go on and get pregnant again. The same thing. That's just a different way of saying, hey, sterilize the child or sterilize you. Just keep having your abortions.
Well, why it is seen different is that we are giving
you're killing a baby. It's a child as soon as it's conceived, right?
Well, yeah. In this way of thinking, in this legislation, fetuses don't have a moral or legal status. So it's what is it? But who do have a legal status are women, and what is seen as crucial is that they have the freedom to do whatever they want to do. And Finnish philosophers who have written about this, like Matti Häyry, they are extremely liberal. So like Häyry says that people should have the freedom to terminate their pregnancy on whatever grounds. Like if you want to terminate pregnancy because child's disability or child's gender or hair color, feel free. We don't care. Well, that solves the issue of equality. Sorry?
They should be educated on that so they don't have to go through that.
Well, I don't know whether it's like we yesterday we talked. I don't think the abortion is the issue here. The issue is preventing disability. I think that's more pressing issue.
Simo, can I ask you a question about the 1929 Commission? What was the immediate impetus for that? Why did that come about then, and why did it take 6 years for the first piece of legislation to take place? Was it informed by intellectuals, people in the university? Was it informed by scientists? Who was kind of agitating around that, and why right then? Do you know?
Well, mainly most of them were doctors and scientists. And then there were some politicians as well. But I think, but the law passed easily. I mean, people didn't stand against it, politicians. So in the parliament, it was accepted immediately. So I think it was just a bureaucracy that why it took so long, actually. Yeah, it was easily accepted. That's a good question. I don't remember now why it took so long.
Was it informed partly by Buck versus Bell, the famous legal
decision
and other North American developments? Or
they were referred to, and the United States was like a model in Europe. It was seen. So they were, and these studies of these families in the US, they were referred to as well. And this idea of a few generations of idiots is enough. So it was similar, yeah.
I was wondering how moral insanity was defined precisely, because you referred to sexual appetites. Was that the sole criterion, or were there other things that would?
Well, moral insanity, it's just very briefly, it was understood as an inborn incapability to know right from wrong. But the main thing was sexuality. I mean, that was it's been for some reason throughout the humankind, especially in Christian history, sexuality has been the most touchy moral issue. So it's okay to kill people, but it's not okay to have sex with people.
That was the key expression of moral insanity. Was this having sexual appetites that were strange or
or
excessive
immoral.
Or whatever?
Yeah, or immoral. Yeah.
From what I understand, early 20th century eugenicists in the U.S. thought that illegitimacy was something, because illegitimacy was a sign of sexual appetite and moral insanity in some ways, such that it marked the children born as illegitimate as also most likely degenerate. And early eugenicists that I've looked at then were very much against adoption as a formal institution, because they thought, why encourage these children to continue? And it was an argument against adoption, so that the children weren't in some sense reformable or malleable. And I wondered if there was how sort of illegitimate children were, clearly they must have been connected in this sort of imaginary of genetic transference of sexual appetite and degeneracy, and how then illegitimate children were considered, and if there was a position on adoption.
Well, yeah, I don't know, but it makes sense. It doesn't make sense, but it makes sense, yes. Illegitimate children were, I think it's only been for the past 20 years that they have not been called as bastards anymore, and even in Finland. And I remember in my childhood that someone was known to be, well, it was quite rare, but I knew a guy who was a bastard. Bastard. Northern accent. It made him a bit,
Bitter.
No, but the way we looked at him, it was
Made
like,
him
well,
look like a bad guy.
yeah, a bit, like
He was a dirty old guy.
dodgy, I don't know. So,
A dirty, you know what?
Raunchy person.
yeah, and it made a kind of that it made explicit the fact that something indecent had taken place.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but that's different than transferring the quality, right? That so Papineau thought that these kids must be morally degenerate because they were the sex actually was both a sign and a mechanism for marking the mind. And so one thing that interests me is how that rhetoric had to be sort of loosened for the institution of adoption to be kind of acceptable to the middle class. So children could be born of that, but as bad seeds in some sense, but maybe rehabilitated and invented through socialization.
In Finland, did the religious sector get involved in this like they did here in Canada?
Yeah, the clergy supported. The ideas of eugenics were based pretty much on Christian morals. So yeah, at first they supported it because it helped to create good Christians.